Hi, I'm back. This video is going to be appearing both on Blue Collar Conservative and Berna Delee, which it means Men of Law in Gaelic. That's my law enforcement officer's page. Shirt I'm wearing right now is a memorial to Officer O'Connor, Corporal O'Connor from the Philadelphia Police Department. His end of watch was March 13th of last year. He was killed in the line of duty. The reason I'm making this post for both pages is simple. It's because it pertains to law enforcement, but it also pertains to politics, which happens a lot in law enforcement for those people who are cops like me. Rustling is my cat over here knocking over a bag of Christmas balls. The Capitol incident last Wednesday. I wish I could say I didn't see this coming, but I did. In 2019, my wife and I were down in D.C. for a day trip for two reasons. It was the National Law Enforcement Weekend, and it was also Mother's Day. So we were down there, and we were walking around the Capitol, and I started looking at things, and I said to my wife, I said, you know how hard, I said how hard a target the White House is. And she goes, yeah. And I said, well, I'm noticing things that I don't like around the Capitol. For one thing, I noticed that the fencing, a lot of the fencing was completely ornamental, just to keep pedestrians off the grass. Bollard posts were not into the concrete; they were literally bolted and cemented on top of the concrete, which means now, it means it's like curtains on a window, you know. It's like that because it's having a bollard that's embedded in the concrete. I mean, I'm sure people have seen pictures on the internet of some idiot who ran into a bollard and the front end of their car is sticking up in the air somewhere. That's what a bollard's supposed to do, because the post goes down the ground and it's supposed to stop. It's an anti-vehicle device. And but these bollards, they were purely ornamental. They were precast and put in place. You could see a crack in the sidewalk going underneath it and then coming out the other side. So that tells me these are cosmetic, these bollards. Now, if a car runs into it, a regular street car, regular car you and I are driving runs into it, it's going to stop it because it's concrete. You're running into a heavy concrete thing. But if you're driving a vehicle with high ground clearance and a reinforced bumper, it's going to go over it like a pancake. Now, these are just some of the things I was seeing when I was going around there. We were going around the perimeter of the building. We were along the side, I guess it's considered the south side, closest to the Arboretum. We're coming around the south side, heading towards the reflecting pool, and I'm seeing all this kind of fencing that was purely cosmetic. That if you ran into a situation like they did last week, that's going bye-bye. It could be even used as a weapon. I didn't see a lot of officers on the perimeter. Now that could have been because there were a couple 100,000 cops there for Law Enforcement Officers Weekend. It was a weekend, but I did not see a large Capitol Police presence the whole time we were down there. I saw more Metro PD than I did Capitol PD. And Capitol PD is larger than some second or third class city police departments. I mean, they have a large budget and a large number of officers. Now, obviously, there weren't enough officers deployed for this incident. And a lot of people are pointing saying that the FBI warned them, FBI warned them. Well, from the press conference we saw just the other day, the FBI sent an email. And from what they said was in the email, it was not strongly worded enough as far as I'm concerned. I don't, from working in this as a cop, I don't have very big respect for the FBI. The FBI used to be really the greatest thing since sliced bread, but then as years gone by, it's become more and more political and less what we really expect of them. I mean, that's been really apparent over the last couple of years, the involvement in political activities of some of the agents and some of the special agents in charge of, you know, I don't want to cast disparagements at all FBI agents. My uncle was an FBI agent, but the FBI today isn't the FBI of old. And a lot of shit gets through the cracks. Now, we have a dead cop, and nobody's in custody for that. There's a whole lot of cameras. Why isn't that person in custody? He should have been perp walked. He should have been taken out with that officer's cuffs. What's going on FBI? What's going on Metro PD? What's going on Capitol PD? There's a lot of things I'm seeing that I don't like with the top end people in these departments. A lot of things I'm seeing that I'm not happy with. And you know me, I am pro cop. I bleed blue. But when you have what happened, an incident where an officer had to discharge his weapon, and I'll tell you right out, I think that officer was perfectly within his rights. I'm sure he felt within that he had a fear of death or serious bodily injury. He had nowhere to retreat to, and you have these people ripping the doors open. What I don't like about this, and I've seen the video of the incident, the woman that was hit and killed is being portrayed as a woman crawling through the window, when the video clearly shows this one man whose name is John Sullivan was attempting to get through the window prior to the shots being fired. Now, she was behind about 4 or 5 people. The reason I'm upset about this is this Sullivan guy, he's wanted for murder in Utah, and he's BLM. And they're saying on the news there's nobody from BLM there, but this guy was a leader of protests in Provo, Utah. He was a BLM and Antifa organizer. He's wanted in connection with a murder in Utah, and here he is crawling through a window trying to get to a cop. And when they came in and cuffed him and his cohorts, they said they were filming a documentary, and they let them go. What the fuck? They were saying they were filming a documentary. There's 2 stories about this. I reference you to the Desert Sun newspaper and Red State newspaper. There's 2 stories about this guy. His story that he claims, and then the story that shows the video that's contrary to it. That him and his, in one story said he had 2 other accomplices. The other story says there's 4 accomplices. These accomplices, these 5 people, were BLM. BLM is a hate group towards police officers. But yet everybody's saying no BLM there. No BLM. I ask you to look up these stories, read them, see the pictures, watch the video. This young woman who was shot and killed is being portrayed as something she's not. She was a business person who was upset because her business is going out of business because of excessive government overreach in California. So she's dead. Is the officer acting appropriately? Hell no. Those other people put the officer in that predicament that he had to fire that weapon. And because he fired that weapon, because that woman died in the commission of a crime, but they caused her death. And those 5 BLM people need to be charged with murder. We all saw the video of the officer getting squashed. Um, I can't for the life of me understand why any conservative person. Well, first of all, I don't understand why they would have went in there like that. I would have gone to the protest. I would have stopped at the reflecting pool. I wouldn't have gone up there. I wouldn't have gone in. So it's just wrong. You don't, two wrongs don't make a right. Well, we've had more than two wrongs. We've had wrong compounded upon wrong. We had some of the people in there were those Boogaloo boys that were in there. A lot of them had a lot to do with the organizing the people to push it back against the officers. So these Boogaloo boys, I want to see them get nailed just as much as I want to see the BLM people get nailed. I want to see equal justice for both officers, both the one that was hurt and the officer that had to fire that weapon and the officer that's dead, for all three of them. Now getting to the point where there's some bad actors, apparently. I've seen it. I've watched all these videos, so I'm not to be perfectly honest with you. Some of those doors were opened by Capitol Hill police officers. They were open. They let them in. They were hanging out with them in the rotunda, taking pictures, taking selfies with them. There's a guy with a MAGA hat, a Capitol police officer with a MAGA hat, seen on video and seen in pictures on social media. So apparently there's 50 officers that were working that day that are under investigation. 2 of them are suspended. Now, I don't know what the hell these other officers supposedly did that are suspended. The officer that fired his weapon, though, should be cleared of charges, because if you've seen that video, he obviously was in danger, as far as I'm concerned. There were the BLM guys, and then there were this woman. The media is saying that the woman tried to go through the window. Why? Because the BLM guy told the media that the woman was trying to go through the window. I'm not kidding you about that, because the original interview that guy gave was to the Desert Sun newspaper, and Desert Sun, they went and debunked everything he said about but yet the media is actually taking the side over of these Black Lives Matter people who they claim weren't there. There were a lot of other lunatics that were there. There was the guy who came with zip ties. That guy walking around with zip ties, he's lucky he didn't get a bullet in his head. He really is. You see some guy walking around, some civilian, non-law enforcement, walking around with zip ties, that means he has ill intent. He's going to try to abduct somebody. He's there. He's lucky he didn't get one in the head. I'm not too happy with a lot of my conservative friends right now, because they're defending a lot of this shit. I'm not going to defend the actions of people who break the law. I'm not going to defend the actions of people who hurt cops. I know a guy from Seattle got a hole blown in his knee because somebody threw some kind of firework ordnance into his perimeter. He got a hole blown in his knee. So I don't discriminate whether it's left wing or right wing. You fuck with cops, you're done. Pretty much, I think I covered what I was going to say here today. You can check this out on Blue Collar Conservative on YouTube, Blue Collar Conservative on Facebook, and also Firnadli, Firnadli, which is Men of Law. That's a law enforcement officers um, uh, Facebook page. Uh, but what went on there should not have happened, and hopefully it doesn't again. Thank you.